Hey friends, what's up? It's me, Vindy Vondo, everyone's favorite rat. So before your regularly scheduled Weeb Club programming, I think it's best I get it out of the way right now. Craftsdwarf and I are fucking idiots, and in this Squid Game backlog that you're about to listen to, full of great discussion, interesting points, two of people's, top 4 Weeb Club members, we forgot to do final thoughts, okay? We were in spoilers, we were having a conversation, and when spoilers were over, we just blanked and ended the episode, all right? So I went ahead, I went out of my way, I asked Craftsdwarf, I said, hey, what's your score? He gave it a 9 out of 10, you can see it right here, all right? My score, I don't do number scores anymore, I've done away with them. You can find the weekly about Mao, where I talk about that. So I'm gonna give it like 2 thumbs up. All right, we're talking like back of the DVD case, like reviewers here. So 2 thumbs up, yes sir. All right, enjoy the Weeb Club.
Are you ready?
All right, hello everyone, and welcome to another Weeb Club backlog. This time it's Craftsdwarf and I, and we're talking about Squid Game. So it's a Korean series. So I mean, I guess outside of us talking about Japanese adaptations of Korean webtoons, it being actually. No, wait, that's not true, is it? I was about to say it being something not from Japan at all is a first for the Weeb Club backlogs, but I don't know if that's true.
I don't think we've talked about other media like Fast and Furious or lots of stuff on the weekly roundups, but I can't think of anything on the backlogs off the top of my head that wasn't, Japanese in some way.
So I guess it is a first for the backlogs that we're doing this on a Korean live action drama.
Yeah, not that it's completely like unreal as far as like influences go. We'll I don't know how much we'll talk about that. Maybe a lot, maybe a little. I have no idea. But I was well aware of Squid Game before I started watching it because it's really fucking popular.
It's like the Netflix show for like the last while. Everyone's talking about it. It's huge. So.
Right, and luckily I went in pretty much unspoiled. Generally I guess the fans have been pretty good about not spoiling it, so for the most part. So that's nice. But I watched it. It was good. So what do we talk about for non-spoilers? I guess. Did you get the interview that you mentioned or the comment?
I'm looking for it right now. The problem is the first 2 I found were in Korean, but people translated them.
Okay.
So now I'm trying to find it.
To summarize it'll get linked in the description when you find it, because you mentioned it a while ago about how basically the writer for Squid Game was reading.
Okay. Here's one I found. This is translated. It doesn't mention kaiji, but it was like a quote, and it was linked in 3 different things. But he says, I freely admit that I've had great inspiration from Japanese comics and animation over the years. When I started, I was in financial straits myself and spent much time in cafes reading comics, including Battle Royale and Liar Game.
Okay.
So that's here. Yeah, I'll drop this. This is an archive page, so, but here's the link for this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the other one I heard alongside those 2 was Kaiji, which,
yes, I'm still looking. I don't know if I'll find something saying it for sure, but...
I mean, even if it wasn't an influence, it seems... it's like, I understand why people are making the comparison, even if I think, because I guess what you've seen
Here's another one with him saying Kaiji. Okay, there we go. I found it. Sorry, I wanted to make sure because you wanted it, but so sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I just wanted to, because obviously, because we're both big fans of kaiji, so for me, that was definitely a point of okay, obviously popular thing, but this is now now it's a popular thing that might be things that I already like, right? So, and I did like it quite a bit. It was really good.
Yeah, it's my first Korean drama I've ever watched. I know they're popular. I mean, like
same.
I think the only Korean live action thing I've watched actually is the Snowpiercer movie.
Okay.
And it's hard to really fully call that Korean because like Chris Evans is in it and speaks English, and like there's a lot of like just mainly talking in English in it.
Okay.
But it is Korean made, and there are Korean actors.
For me, it was Parasite, which was
I still haven't seen Parasite.
Yeah. Okay. So I haven't seen a lot of Korean stuff, but it's basically Parasite and Squid Game, which are like some of the most popular pieces of in the last few years, I think to come out of Korea, South Korea. So which but I guess like as far as like the watching experience, like because I'm already really used to watching things with subtitles, which we'll get into in a second. Like the only thing I noticed that I maybe had trouble with was remembering some of the character names, but that's also, I feel like that's part of that is also there's a lot of characters, but it's also just that I'm not familiar with the language, which to a degree happens with Japanese stuff sometimes. Like I can think of series where I just struggle to remember the character names just because there's so many characters and they're all Japanese names, but I feel like that's less common because I'm familiar with Japanese names to a degree just from how many series I've gone through, where I'm not really familiar with Korean names or the language. So I was definitely struggling to remember certain characters' names, which luckily most of them are like, have a number that I could just say like, or something like that, but still.
Yeah, I agree. Where it was very hard to remember some of their names. And also, I don't know if you felt like this. And it comes down to trying to Romanize languages that aren't inherently Romanized, right?
Yeah, I think, yes.
The same thing does happen with Japanese names, but I think we're at a point where we've kind of, because we've seen so much stuff from Japan and experienced so much, we've kind of gotten over that mental hurdle where sometimes the romanization of the name that I was reading in the subtitles didn't actually match what it sounded like was being said.
Or your mental pronunciation is different from the actual pronunciation,
and so it was sometimes hard to differentiate in what they're saying because I know none of the language, right? And not to say I know Japanese because I don't, but if I'm listening to two anime characters talk and I know what I'm supposed to be listening to for the name, I can kind of pick it out easier than like this where I don't know anything and so I actually have no idea when the name is being said, right? Mm-hmm. And so that did make it like tough keeping names in track, but I mean I wouldn't say that hurt my enjoyment because like I knew what their names were like written down, and then it got to the point where it was just I was so sucked in by the end. Because I watched the whole show in like 2 sittings. Like I watched it like a couple episodes, put it down, and then came back and just finished it because it was so good.
I don't know if it was 2 sittings, but it was across 2 days, and it's hour-long episodes it's like 8.5 hours total, more or less, for a 9-episode show. Because like the second last episode is only half an hour long. But I was, I was like, I'll start Squid Game. It might take me a while because when am I gonna find the time to watch hour-long episodes? And I finished it the next day, and it's like, oh. Well, there it is. But what I want to mention about the subtitles is that I guess there's been some discussion and maybe controversy, if you want to go that far, with the, because the dub is bad.
Very bad.
I've seen a couple clips. And, well, I guess especially at least when I first saw it, which was also some of my first exposure to Squid Game, was basically someone was comparing the dub subtitles, which are basically like a transcript of the dub, to the original language being said, and recognizing a lot of errors, but that wasn't necessarily reflective of the actual subtitles for the show. I don't know which track I had but I recognized some errors in it, so maybe there's some like little moments of characterization that were lost. One error, just for anyone who also watches the show to compare if they recognize this error, if they don't, there's in the second game a character is complaining about I know what they said based on context because they said that they got a difficult thing and everyone else got an easy one, but the subtitles reversed that. So I was able to tell through the context that he wasn't complaining that he got the easy one, right? But so there was the things every so often where I recognized that the subtitles were probably incorrect. But obviously there might have been parts that I didn't recognize that they were incorrect, so I don't think it affected my perception of the show a lot, but I just wanted to show. I don't even. I'm not even sure where my subtitles came from, and or what they were trying. And like there's one just some things I could recognize as being like the result of translation. Like one character referred to a bunch of different people with the word babe in the translation because of how she was trying to act towards that person. And I kind of figured it for what it was and just sort of accepted it as like, okay, that's the word in that language. That's, this is what they felt was an accurate translation for it. But obviously it's not,
perfect, right?
Right. So I get what they were going for. Right. So I'm just, long been familiar with and accepted those kind of like little quirks with how subtitles work and just recognizing liberties being taken or just, or just decisions that have to be made at some point and just being able to like, separate that from like, recognize that no translation is ever going to be perfect and I'm not going to be too bothered by it. But, as long as the meaning's gotten across. And for me, I got at least enough meaning out of the show that I wasn't bothered by the little errors I saw in the subtitles. So,
yeah. I mean, so I don't know. I didn't notice what you were talking about with the subtitles. It's possible I could have just like missed it or like fixed it in my brain while reading it,
You might have had a different subtitle track as well. Like, I don't...
That's true. I might have had because we even talked about it, how we talked about it on our streams where you, when you started up, it gave it to you dubbed at first, right? And you had to switch it? Like, it had the dub as the default, or...
No, I have it automatically.
No,
I had it downloaded from torrent. And
that's right. Right. Okay.
And I have my settings on NPC set that it will generally switch it to English subtitles, Japanese audio. So it didn't change it to... Well, you were talking about what Netflix will do sometimes. Will actually recognize your preferences.
I watched it on Netflix. I forgot that you don't have Netflix because I'm just used to, most people
having Netflix.
Talked about it. Yeah. So I know I didn't have this issue because I've watched, I guess, enough anime. I don't watch a lot of anime on Netflix, but like, for example, I'm watching Blue Period on it. I watch occasional things on it. So it knows, like, if I'm going to watch something that's like originally Japanese, set it to Japanese as like the original audio, right? And then, with subtitles. So mine defaulted to Korean. I didn't even have to change it, which was good.
Right, whereas you suggest that other people, if they do tend to watch anime or things dubbed, then when they watch Squid Game, it'll likely make them listen to the dub, and they might just watch it and not think anything of it because that's what they're used to when they're getting a potentially, like, not ideal version of the story, right?
Well, I don't know if that's why it does it, right? Like,
okay,
that's a potential, like...
Right. We don't know how Netflix works, but that seems reasonable to me, at least.
I have seen people say, like, the show was, it was just default dubbed for me, and that's how I watched it, right? I've seen a couple people say that just online, and it's like, that really kind of is terrible, because the dub is, like, so bad, right? It's worse than, like, I think some of, like, the worst anime dubs people talk about. Like the clips I've seen of it are really, really, really dog shit.
And I mean, to be fair, they are clips taken because they are bad, right? Like, it's not like, oh, let's give a fair look at the dub. It's like, no, they're taking the worst ones, but still, like, the fact that it gets that bad is, like, not, for important scenes, is not good. You do not want this, right? Like,
yeah,
no.
That's the thing, is, like, the scenes that they're showing, it's not like they're scenes where, like, oh, it's kind of a nothing scene, so it's okay, the voice acting isn't good, or it's this random character that doesn't show up again. It's like major characters in very important scenes that sound way off and super terrible, and it's like, okay, well, this is not good. I'll say that much.
Right. So yeah, we wanted to talk about that and just talk about, like, our, how we experienced it, because, like, I had a friend who watched the first 2 episodes and they weren't into it, and I next time I talk to him, I want to ask if he watched it dubbed or not, because I don't think he would, but part of me is like, well, if he didn't like it, then here's a way that he might enjoy the show more, right? But anyway, so yeah, it's hard to talk about the show, I guess, to some degree because of spoilers, and I'm really looking forward to talking about that, but, we were really into it. It sounds like, obviously we're also kind of familiar with, like, the type of story it is by nature. Like, we literally have done a backlog on Liar Game. We're both big fans of Kaiji, and we both read Battle Royale, the manga, so it's like,
yes.
We've both gone through everything that the writer has directly mentioned, or the creator.
So we're familiar with death games, and if you like a death game kind of story, anyone, by the way, I'm just gonna say this, who says, oh, and look, we might clickbait this in the title and thumbnail, okay, but anyone who actually is like, oh, it's just Kaiji, or oh, if you like Kaiji, you'll like this, it's like, it's not. It's very different, and it's, I don't know, like, it's dumb to both series to say that.
No, yeah, there was someone I know.
Cough, a YouTuber, we did a 3-hour EWB on cough, but that's fine. I'm not gonna say who.
And there was also someone who said, "Why watch Squid Game when you can just read Gambling Emperor Zero?" And I'm like, because I already read that. Why not? Why watch Squid Game when you can just read Gambling Emperor Zero 2? And I'm like, because I read that as it fucking got translated. And
they're also different, right? Because like Squid Game's using
then he was leaning into it because he's like, why don't you just read Gambling Emperor Zero 3? And I'm like, because it's not real. But yeah, no, they are very different. And honestly, if I reread Gambling Emperor Zero, I'd probably like it less too. Cause yeah, I guess for Squid Game for me, it's not only like, yeah, it is, in this kind of genre of like, or related to these series of like games and death, dying, but it's also like, yeah, it's a pretty strong entry. I enjoyed it quite a lot. I don't like it more than Kaiji, obviously, but, or not obviously, but like Kaiji's like one of my favorite anime / manga. Like, it's really good, but yeah, no, I think Squid Game stands on its own is the other thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess other than that, like, it's well directed. The acting is, I'd say, is pretty good as far as I can tell for, because I haven't watched that much Korean stuff, but I was, satisfied.
I bought it. Yeah, there was never a point where I felt like,
well, the
a
only
performance
times
was taking me out of it.
And the only times I kind of like was aware of it is when the characters were like acting up deliberately, right? When they're it's like in character for them to be overacting in a sense, right? Like, so
where the character itself is acting, and so
exactly.
It makes sense that
if it feels like off, then it's like, okay, then that's just good acting at that point, right? Because they're doing exactly what they're supposed to be. But if you haven't watched Squid Game and you're interested in, or if you like the things that it's taking influence from, then you should probably you probably already watched it. I mean, it's so popular, I would hope so. But I mean, personally speaking, I would say that the popularity is at least to some degree earned. I think because it's a good series.
Yeah, it was something I personally very, very much enjoyed. I really enjoyed it. I don't know why. Well, no, we'll get to that. But I thought it was really enjoyable. It was really fun. I'm glad I watched it.
Yeah.
I probably would have watched it anyways, even if I didn't know about because I watched it before knowing about the Kaiji and other stuff, like, whatever. But, I do try to just somewhat keep up with, like, what the really popular stuff is, just so I have a topic of conversation with people if I ever need it.
Right.
But, yeah, I thought, it was really solid. It gave me everything I, like, would have wanted from the show. And, yeah, I liked the games. I thought the games were pretty well... done in the sense that we're like, they're well done and they're fun.
Yeah, let's just leave it there just because like the games themselves are like they're simple, but that's also the point. But that's
and I want to make a bunch of I want to make comparisons to like we will make comparisons to stuff like Kaiji and stuff. But
Right, and I guess to make one comparison, just because I already mentioned Gambling Emperor Zero, where I feel like Gambling Emperor Zero is more trying to have like interesting games to the point where it's like I literally don't remember that much about the characters because like they're almost not the focus as much as the games. Like Squid Game, the focus is at least like the games are simple, but so it's more about seeing how the characters act in these situations and stuff. Anyway, we'll move on to spoilers because it's a show we have to spoil to really talk about it. But yeah. So where the fuck do we start with Squid Game?
So I very much want to discuss, especially because I have another quote that is fucking hysterical that we have to talk about.
Oh no!
But to get there, we can't because. Like I want to talk about all the controversy surrounding the ending and all the people that don't like it and how I think it is just like it is like an example almost of like a thing that got very popular but doesn't give like the happy ending that I think a lot of people just like watch things expecting. And so they complain about it while misunderstanding like what the point of the ending is.
Also, real quick, since I'm looking at the link that you said in the preview, it says Season 2. What is said about Season 2 in the article? Do you remember?
Yes. No, I didn't. I can look, but I
Okay.
remember reading another interview with him around the time I finished the show Whereas like people were like, oh, season 2, and he's like, well, I didn't have plans for a season 2. It's gotten really popular, so maybe, but like it was planned to be its own self-contained story.
Okay.
Right?
I mean, see, I think that works, and it's perfectly fine, especially, again, because, like, I mentioned the comparison. The ending reminds me of, like, Liar Game, but what if Liar Game's ending was good, almost? Or at least
Right.
it does what I would have wanted from Liar Game's ending. But, like, I feel like there was, like, some things that could have been resolved in Season 2, or explored further in Season 2 if they decide to go that route. So it was more of
yeah,
a,
but
like...
I think
yeah. But,
I think it's telling that, like, you know, it's, like, I don't know. You know, okay. You know what the ending stuff? I guess we're starting on this.
All right.
You know what it reminds me of? And I somehow was never a part of this while it was coming out because I never saw Inception. But it reminds me of all those people talking about the ending of Inception, right? Because have you seen Inception?
Yes, years ago, but I saw it.
Well, I'm going to spoil Inception for everyone here. I don't care. So the entire point of the movie, right, is essentially that Leonardo DiCaprio's character has to decide what he cares about more. Right? Does he care about living in this fake world? Does he care about, you know, being with his wife, being with his kids? He has like all these things he's trying to decide, and a lot of it is about like what reality is real, right? And he comes to the conclusion that he's going to choose what reality he wants to live in, whether it's the actual like real world or it's like the fake, you know, dream world. He doesn't care. He basically chooses to abandon his wife and go with his kids, right? And so the movie ends before, like, he spins a top, and the entire time the top spinning is, like, the whole idea of whether or not he's in the real world or a
I heard
dream.
an alternate read, but, because, or I guess what I remember is that the top isn't actually his, like, anchor, it's actually his ring, and...
None of that matters.
Okay, that doesn't matter? Okay,
That's the point I'm getting to,
Okay.
is none of that matters, because you don't see whether or not the top falls. And when I watched it earlier this year, I was like, yeah, why you don't need to see it fall. It does not matter, because what matters is that he's choosing the reality where he gets to be with his kids. He's choosing the reality where he gets to be with his kids, see their faces, and be a part of their lives, right? The top falling or spinning or it being the top or not does not fucking matter. That's not the point of the ending, right? And like then I like came to that conclusion. And I went and looked up an interview with Christopher Nolan talking about the movie, and he said the exact same thing.
Okay.
That it really doesn't matter. The whole point is that, you know, the character's choosing his own reality, right? He's choosing which reality he wants to live in. So it doesn't matter whether it's real or not. He doesn't care at this point whether it's real or not. All he cares about is being with his kids, right? But people just went so into these, like, super small, like, almost like the plot of, like, what happened as opposed to, like, what does it mean? Right? And I feel like that's what, like, asking for a Squid Game season 2 is like, well, he didn't go to his family. It's like, because the point is that he's not going to go to them because he has, you know what I mean? Like, it's just missing.
Well, yeah, like, because, like, yeah, he like, come on. Okay, so he finishes Squid Game. He does nothing for a year, like, because he, you know, he had all these morals that he compromised on in the Squid Game. He can't be a good father if he is actually a bad person, and that's kind of what the whole ending is exploring, or, you know, with the last game that he has with Il-nam. But we'll come back to that, I guess, because that, you know, all right, but yeah,
yeah. So like, it feels very much like people getting really hung up on the ending. So I think calling it bad in a lot of ways is just missing the point of the series. And I also think people, especially asking for a season 2, are way hung up on like, well, what's going to happen is, you know, but he didn't go to his family. And it's like that.
That doesn't, see, if a season 2 where he goes to his family, like, that wouldn't be the point of season 2.
Or like a season 2 where he goes and does things and then goes to his family after. It's like, that's not the point. Like, the story ends, okay? Yes, he doesn't get a conclusive happy ending. But the story is over, right? His story and his arc that he went through from episode 1 till the end is over at that point.
Yeah. Like I said, I do think there's some things that could, you know, I could see being explored in season 2, but, you know, whenever season 2 happens, I'm just gonna watch it and see what happens rather than getting hung up on what I want for the series. But so I guess we'll come back to the ending. So do you want to maybe go game by game?
Yeah, we can. I think the first game is there, or do we want to start? I guess.
Or I guess I was gonna say like sort of as we do, like, game by game is just the general structure, but more we just talk about the show, like, up to that point or around that point, more or less, is more what I was thinking.
Yeah, okay, that makes more sense. So yeah, I mean, I guess before the game, I really like the way the show introduces
Gi-hun or Gi-hun, something like that.
I really like the way the show introduces him. That is the part that I think to me feels the most like Kaiji. Or
the way he's like he's kind of a parasite. He's just existing basically. The part that especially made me think of Kaiji is when he's trying to guess the pin number to his mom's card, and just the way he's like backed into a corner, and he finally he does it. He finally acts, and he gets his shit together, right? Where it's very much established with Kaiji that he can't just do things normally. He has to be backed into a corner. And at that point, that's where he really like shines and hits his momentum and is able to do these insane, crazy gambles, right? So that's almost what happens to Gi-hun, where he's oh no, okay, if I get this wrong, then the card will be shut out. My mom will know. It'll be a big deal. So he gets it, right? And that's and after that, I didn't really get a lot of Kaiji vibes except for Game 5, where it's like crossing a long thing over a long fall. And obviously it's different, but it still reminded me of the one game from Kaiji. And it's also notable because that's like the one game in Squid Game that isn't based on a children's game, to my knowledge. It's kind of an outlier. So, of course, that outlier just happens to remind me of
and we'll talk when we get there. Even the way it's used is as an
outlier.
It's,
right. Exactly. It's handled differently. Like, again, I do feel Squid Game stands on its own, but it's just like this one part reminds me a little bit of Kaiji. That's it, really. It was really good at establishing, what kind of person he is. And then we're also seeing the other characters a bit, like the pickpocket who, she's also playing the game. And, honestly, like, once it got to the game itself, it was just really good with its general tone and tension. Like, I knew a lot of people were gonna fucking die, but that still made, like, the scene of, like the first guy dying and it's like, hey, you're dead. Hey, what, are you okay? Get up. And then, oh shit, no, he's fucking dead. And he runs away and then he dies and everyone panics and it's just fucking brutal. Like, it was just really well handled.
Yeah, I think the way the show handles it super good because you see like this entire time, right? That shit's gonna go down, right? Like, obviously something's gonna happen. It kind of just ends with, once that first person dies and everyone in like the series knows, I think just that entire thing is handled so well.
Mm-hmm.
I also like, what happens with, like, when Gi-hun's doing the paper throwing game. And he does it a bunch, and he's failing, and he gets to the point where he's just doing it to win and try to slap, and he's even going for money.
That was pretty good, yeah, because he's, like, about to slap him, and then he gets blocked, and he's like, no, here's your money. It's like, oh, yeah, like, he doesn't even care about the money at that point, right? Like, yeah, that was good. And
I think it even foreshadows kind of what happens, right, like, at the very end.
Right, where he doesn't, because, yeah, he reaches a point where he doesn't care about the money, yeah, it's good. I actually hadn't pieced that together myself, but there was some other things that I retroactively remembered. So maybe we'll talk about this now. So were you spoiled? Did it catch you off guard, or did you predict it regarding Ilnam?
Which part?
Anything like because did you figure that he was actually like secretly behind everything the whole time, or did that catch you off guard?
Or at least like.
At what point did you maybe start to suspect it? Like, I'm just curious as to like.
When he showed up at the end.
Oh, okay.
I didn't see it coming at all.
Okay, that was okay. See, because I actually started to suspect it. I think it was episode 4 when they were doing the extra game when the fighting was going on, because he was on top and he was yelling at everyone to stop fighting, and that's when the guy in the mask stopped the fighting. And I was like, was that a fucking signal? And I was already, even in the first game, he was enjoying himself, like, the most. And yeah, he's also an old man with dementia, or at least he's appearing as such. So there's part of me that's like, is it, like, I was already a little suspicious, I guess. Maybe it's because I hate old people as well, like myself. And children. I hate everybody is the answer. But well, like, and especially, like, thinking about how his character is, especially, like, with the voting, how it's deliberately handled in reverse order so that he's the last one to vote, and like he makes them vote to go outside so that they go, like the one lady even said, like, it's hell out there. Like, after seeing the first game, I was even thinking, well, is it not hell in there? But then everyone goes outside and most everyone comes back. Like, whew. So I don't know. It was just neat to see how, like, think about how his character is recontextualized by knowing the whole series. So I just thought like I'd bring it up. But yeah.
Yeah, I something I actually like about a lot of the games in this, outside of one game, technically, is that a lot of the two games actually, right? I think outside of two games, a lot of the games technically everyone could have won.
Yes.
Right. Technically everyone could have won. Red light, green light. Everyone could have won the next game. They're not obviously designed for not everyone to win. But I did like that, and I do think that was something that is very different from a lot of these other Death Games series.
Right, no, they're not zero-sum games, where, a lot of them, like, by nature, like look at the S-bar, the restricted rock, paper, scissors, by nature,
right.
people have to give up their cards, they have to lose stars, and, right, it's virtually impossible to get everyone to win, where in theory, right, everyone could win at red light, green light, or the honeycomb carving, right? So, it's only, tug of war literally divides everyone in half, and so does the marble game. Because I picked up on that too, and it was an interesting difference that, I haven't seen in a lot of the other ones. So yeah. Well, Layer Game liked to say that everyone could have won, but,
Not possible in a lot of those in Liar Game. It's like, oh yeah, everyone could have won if just everyone was 800 IQ and also not a person, and
or completely put themselves at risk from people to people who want to exploit them, like Yoka. Yeah, so just like that no one. I don't know. Well, we talked about that before. It's a lot, but anyway. So yeah, I like the setup. I like having a whole episode where we see the characters and how they are outside in the regular world. And like
after the first game,
right? And and seeing how shitty and they all went back, and it's just like it's brutal, and it was well handled. I think it's good.
Yeah, no, I think it's really nice because I like how we see them all go, and then we see even people who voted no, came back, and that's like even like an interesting like the way that that's handled, where it's like almost everyone came back, and like even though Gi-Hyun's like, oh, people shouldn't be dying, this is still bad, it's like a lot of them not only make the point that, well, at this point everyone knew what they were signing up for and still came back, and also they don't really have a place outside,
right? Like out of like let's see, there were like I think it was 200 people voting for one or the other, like there were 400 people left. After the first game, and only 14 of them didn't come back. Which is I don't know. It was
right. So obviously the people that like you feel the worst for are the the ones who did just die in the first game without knowing what they were signing up for. But
right.
Everyone in the second pass, it's like they actually just don't have another option.
No, and
they chose what happens. So
right, and like you said, everyone knew what they were signing up for. But I guess what I was also thinking about is how after the fifth game, Gi-Hyun is kind of like because Songwoo he because he pushed the guy at the very end, and
yes.
Gi-Hyun was kind of like criticizing him for that. But where I was kind of thinking is like all of them have blood on their hands, right? Like. And everyone knew what they were signing up for. Everyone was putting their lives on the line when they came back, right? So, like with the husband and wife, like one, if they really want to protect one another, like they should, I think it's reasonable to assume that they all would have, like most everyone would who came back would die. Like one of them could have stayed outside and one of them could have gotten the game, right? Just stuff like that, and it's just interesting to consider. How certain things. So after the second game, was it the what was the third game?
The second game technically was the cutting out of the sugar game.
Yes. Oh yeah, that's right. There's also the whole that's also where you're getting into the subplot with the detective who's sort of investigating the Squid Game. And
because Gi-Hyun goes and he's talking all about like, oh, there's all this shit going on, and then the guy's like the detective, and I really liked the detective subplot. I not only did I like what it adds to the show, I thought like the actual scenes of him like sneaking around and trying to blend in and trying to like do things, and also getting a view of what the other side of the
like they're more expendable than the players, right? Like we think, oh,
Yeah.
you know, he's in power now, he has power over the players, but no, he's in just as much danger, and not just even because like, you know, like there's the one guy who gets taken as a hostage, and he reveals his face, and he's immediately killed, like because that's just, you know, you don't reveal your fucking face, which, you know, yeah, it's really good for tension building, and yeah, just seeing him like kind of like try and figure out what the fuck's going on and how to get information out there, and look for his brother, who is
yeah, that reveal's great. We'll get to that one.
Yeah, I didn't see that one coming.
No, I did not either. But I really like how it works in with Gi-hyun as well. But I also, you know, I thought just the entire thing of that, along with you know, like the moments where he gets like, as he gets farther up in the, so then he becomes one of the guys in the masks that's tending to the VIPs, and that part's super interesting as well.
Yes.
Because now we see like the opposite side of it. It's just really like that subplot is, it's good for like really for when it shows up, I guess. Like it wouldn't be as good, I think, if it was like more emphasized than it was. But really for like how often it shows up and everything like that, it really like, you know, is everything I want.
No, and having the alternate perspective of how the games work is just really helpful for how, you know, the show. Like there's also stuff with the doctor and the guys who are sort of stealing body parts from the organs and stuff to sell them. And then of course, like, which kind of helped establish like the purpose of, you know, the Squid Game, where, you know, it's about equality. And yeah, I guess another thing is like, if there is a season 2, like even if like Gi-hyun isn't like a main character or majorly involved, at least at the start, like now we know the, you know, the brother who's behind the mask, like he's a character we can cut to get that other perspective, right, without you know, so just that's well, especially because there's one scene where he's like he empties out his pockets and then he's like keeled over and he sees a vision of his brother after he shot him. Like I just thought like, oh, you know, that's a potential thing that might get you know, his character could be something further explored in a season 2, right?
Right.
So that's just a thought I had. Like obviously, you know, if it doesn't happen, sure, but it was just, you know, something I considered. But
yeah, and the Sugar Game I liked. You know, I obviously have never played that game, right? That's not an American children's game. But I do like the idea of like licking the sugar to make it easier, and how like intense it is, because like he really is like more than anyone else who's like, you know, theoretically could do it a lot faster, and just like he's really in like a race of like, can his saliva and everything stack up against, you know, the slab of sugar, and can he get it out in time?
Right, and that's just another one of those kaiju moments of just like, you know, in the when he's pressed, he can actually, like, you know, he comes up with another a way to get around his problem and overcome, basically. And
and I like the what's his friend's name?
Ahi or the Pakistani, or which friend?
No. Is
Songwoo?
Yeah.
The glasses man, Mr. University. Yeah. Okay.
And I liked how, you know, he from that game on kind of had an idea of what was coming up and was putting things together, but still couldn't like refuse to I don't know, like you know, wouldn't really help because he was only in it for himself.
Right, like and
see that from the beginning.
Right, and he still had his, you know, like, because he almost stopped Gi-hyun and told him like, hey, you should maybe, you know, like, because they decided to split up because he knew. Or no, well, he was the one who suggested it, and he was even gonna, like, because Gi-hyun was going to the most risky option that would have, like, been most likely to kill him, and, you know, he had that, like, brief moral moment of just, like, stopping and, hey, maybe I should keep my friend from fucking dying, but, you know, ultimately, you know, his desire to win outweighed that morality, basically, and, which, yeah, comes up later. I guess there's also, as far as the side characters go, like there's the gangster dude and the lady.
Yes.
Who, you know, they were working together, and then they got you know, they had that whole arc of, you know, they trusted each other. I like how it resulted for where she got his ass basically. But
yeah, I really like him as like the starting off like very much piece of shit character, but then as it goes, not that he becomes less of a piece of shit, but I think a lot of the other characters are shown to also be pieces of shit, just less like open about it. Because I mean, I really do. I don't know. I mean, I think, yeah, and I really like the way that plays out, and yeah, him with the girl and how he betrays her, but she also like cares, but cares more about like her pride and the fact that like she could not like win because realistically she's like a like, you know, she's not really in it because she cares about him. She's just trying to, you know, like win. So
yeah, then because yeah, that there was the fighting that happened, which I already brought up, the little bit I noticed earlier. Then there's the tug of war, I guess, was pretty tense. The way that fucking ended it, like on a cliffhanger mid, like at the end of the episode, mid game, I was like, you motherfuckers, because I wanted to watch the next one. But that one was neat, just seeing how they survived, even though they were a weaker team.
Yeah, and I really like the like kind of ragtag group that
ends up getting
kind
formed,
of puts together. Yeah. And I think it's interesting how like he isn't allowing himself to be the leader, even though he's absolutely the person bringing everyone in that group together.
Yeah, yeah.
Works super well. And is this the game where he covers up the old man because he peed himself? Or is it after this?
I think it was after the tug of war, because yeah, it was right before the marbles, because like, see, the fucking marbles and this evil show, like, because like, yeah, because yeah, after the night before then, like, yeah, the old man peed himself, so he gave him his coat to sort of cover himself, and then you know, the old man gave him the coat, his own coat, so, you know, you can't not wear a coat. And then they teamed up, because well, that was good, like, because where they're all pairing off, and they end up pairing with people they trust, because they're thinking in the terms of the other games where they got to compete, or like the tug of war especially, where they got to compete with other guests, and it's like, no, you have to compete with the person you partnered with, and it's like, fuck this evil show. God.
Yeah, especially because the way that plays off of, you know, we'd seen all of these you know, people start to form and groups start to form, and like everything up till that point had been about almost forming groups and creating, you know, because like just before this, right, everyone had to pair up. So then when they have to do the marble game, and I love that the lady who nobody wanted to pair up with, everyone thought she was gonna die, but because nobody wanted to pair up with her, they were like, this isn't fair to her, she gets to keep going.
Motherfuckers. Right? Yeah, I was like, oh, son of a bitch, because like, you know, because that was Gihun's kindness that he paired up with Ilnam, thinking like this old man needs someone, right? Like he has that morality, and he was like trying, you know, it was good, but then no, you have to kill him, and it's like this piece of shit show. So yeah, like the fighting and the tug of war like pushed everyone, you know, into groups so that they could compete with the others. So they had that mentality going to the Marvel game. And then, like, the fucking father, or the husband who had to killed his wife, basically, and it's like, God. This was, like, and then with the two girls, the way the one girl sort of, basically, like, let herself lose so that Sai could go on, I was already crying by that point, and then Ilnam, I was crying a lot.
Yeah, the Ilnam stuff was great. I loved the we haven't talked about it yet, but the North Korean girl is great.
Yes.
I love her character, and I love the kind of like moment she has with the other girl. Is also very good.
No, the way they just like, oh well, one of us is gonna die anyway. Like, let's talk and open up to each other. And the one who has the least hope in the like, you know, and gives up, you know, her ability, your life basically, even says like she's the one. Oh, when we get out of here. Oh, that's right. And she does that like twice, and it's like, stop hurting me.
Yeah, it is rough, definitely.
And Ilnam, like, cause, you know, I was like, when he was like he's just gone. I mean, obviously he's pretending to be gone, but like, you know, and then once Gi-hun like kind of like starts lying and cheating and betraying the trust that they'd built up because he wants to survive, because these systems are pushing him. He has to live, right? Like, you know, his ideals are not more valuable than his life. And so he has pushed that. And then when especially once Ilnam goes like, oh, I had fun, here, just take my marbles. And I'm like, no.
Yeah. And when like he says like he's not going to screw him over, and then he ends up doing it, and it's all Ilnam like faking the dementia. And like he almost like doesn't even want to, you know what I mean? But like he feels like he has no other option, and it hits.
And see, the thing is, I think the way it's, because like he didn't lie about having fun, right? So like in that way, I think the moment still works even with the fact
definitely.
that right. So which is good. I think that it wasn't like it's not like, oh no, give me back my tears, you lied to me. It's like, no, I think what makes the moment work, even if he doesn't actually die, still, like, you know, at least for me, right? So
yeah, I agree, definitely.
But yeah, the Marvel game, I think the Marvel game was maybe my favorite, just because it was like you had a lot of different good. It basically took all these characters we've come to know, put them together, and ruin in an evil way, and ruined you.
We should also probably talk about the Pakistani man, since he leaves the show here, and he's really good.
Yeah, he was just a nice, good man, and in a world that didn't want and didn't accept, and where niceness and goodness isn't a great currency.
Yeah, and he probably has it the worst, where it's like the whole reason he basically has to be there is because he's an immigrant, right? So he can't really get a real job, and the job he was working at literally weren't paying them for their work. So
did they state, or because his fingers?
He goes
no. I was asking another question. His fingers.
Sorry.
Did he lose his fingers at that job, or was it somewhere else? Because
I assumed it was that he lost them at that job.
That's what I assumed too. I was just wondering if they directly stated that, or if it's sort of left up to the, you know, and being implied.
Wait, did he not? Oh wait, no, never mind. I'm wrong. Never mind.
You're thinking about the other guy who got his hand caught in the machine?
Yeah, I thought that he also lost his fingers there too, but he didn't.
I mean, not at that moment. I could see that have happened, or as being something that happened in the past, but not that. No, he didn't do that at the moment, right? But like, I mean, maybe that was implicitly showing, like, yeah, he basically lost his fingers through something like this, because it's But I was just wondering if you had remembered if it had been stated directly, and I'd forgotten or something like that.
It might have been, but I don't know.
Yeah, no, but he's definitely got an shitty situation, but he's still just like this good guy. Like, he helps the main character just in the first game, like, which was tense because like they're still staying still, and it's just like, oh fuck, don't neither of you fuck up, and you know, so he becomes their ally, and yeah, like you said, they formed this ragtag group, and then yeah, but Songwoo, it wanted to survive, and you know, he just used his brains and screwed him over, and
yeah, that would hurt really bad, because it was like he was winning too, and then Songwoo starts accusing him of cheating, even though he definitely was not cheating, and then Songwoo's like, "You're right, I'm sorry," and then just hard like tricks him and kills him, and it's like, fucking hell.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was rough. By the way, after that is the glass tiles or jump. I forget what it's called, because it's again not an actual like game.
What I thought about this one was, didn't they decide not enough people were dead, so they were like, yeah, this is a way to thin out the crowd before the last game, essentially?
Was it?
Or am I wrong?
I don't remember.
I thought that's what they had said.
I thought that was the fighting in between games, because that was a way to cull the weak, basically.
Maybe? I thought there was something said about like them doing it was like for a reason that wasn't just like a part of the, you know what I mean? But I could be
maybe
wrong.
All I remember was that the VIPs were just enjoying the idea of seeing the games live rather than across a screen like they presumably had with the other games. But maybe we're both just forgetting that was said.
Yeah, I really like it in that game. They have to go in order, and they have to pick their order.
Yes, like that also kind of feeds into the like you know, they chose to be here, right? Where it's like, well, you picked your number, you know, like they even told them why, like I decided to order you to go. And then there was another important idea established where there's a guy who argued to have the number one, where, oh, I'm a coward, I've never, you know, taken charge and gone
like,
forward at any point in my own life, right?
and didn't,
Right, because I sort of think Gi-hun is kind of like, I imagine he's like, or or I guess we even see it like he's kind of similar as a person, where he just doesn't usually go forward in his own life or take any sort of charge or anything. So which I think comes in at certain points, but yeah, it did kind of screw over that guy because that was a particular like rough game, just because it's like they have to. It also reminded me of that one fucking Fall Guys game, the one I'm talking about, right?
Yes. It was exactly that Fall Guys.
They're the exact same, the same they're the same picture. But yeah, like, but it's just like, it's so fucked because the people in front have to go ahead to have a chance, and the guys in back and that's the thing that I always think about with Song-woo pushing the guy at the end, was that if he didn't do that, Gi-hun wouldn't have made it. He was literally like a second away from failing, right? They were that strapped for time. So like when he was getting critical about Song-woo at the end, like after the fact, I was just sitting there kind of like, well, if he didn't do that, you would have died. Like, it's fucked, but I don't know. It was interesting to think about, because like morally I do understand where Gi-hun is coming from, but it's like, it's a fucked up situation. Like, there's blood on all of their hands, right? And the other thing I was thinking about the game is just how, like, where with the subplot with the doctor, and where it was established that the whole purpose of the Squid Game is equality, where it's everyone is equal here, and we sort of see that with Ilnam being there at all, because he is the rich 1%, who he made the game, but here he is like participating in the games with a chance, because like he could have died in tug of war if he did, but obviously like he still, like, obviously he did know. I imagine he knew, he created the games, he modeled the neighborhood in the Marvel one after his own childhood neighborhood. That's totally not a hint that he's secretly the mastermind, the imposter among us, if you will. Right. So like, I guess, yeah, he did have an advantage in that way. But which I guess is also kind of what I would like to see explored in season 2, because I also feel like the way during the 5th game where you had the glassmaker who he could tell the glass panes apart, and like there, I guess what I was thinking about is how like they had to turn off the lights to make it equal, but there was so many other games where people had unfair advantages, like the tug of war where guys are just naturally stronger, or Song-woo was able to predict the game based on the scenery and the shapes, and he realized, oh, it's the honeycomb cutting, and he could have told...
Well, he also heard that the sugar had been
that's
from...
true. Yeah,
he knew that they were melting sugar, and that's really how he put it together.
That's true. So they'd have a little, extra information. But at the same time, I feel like it wouldn't be too unreasonable for someone to guess what it is, even if they have really good memory of that as a kid. Like, which I guess what I'm trying to say is like no two people can be equal. Which and the game is trying to do something that I feel is, even as shown in the show, isn't really possible. So I feel like there's a kind of like inherent unfairness to the ideal of equality as established in the game. So if there was a season 2, that would be an idea I would like to see gone into more, basically, because it feels like a contradiction to what Ilnam is trying to do. But the glassmaker guy, he had an advantage there, but they didn't like that, so he ended up dying, even though he could have gotten them all out, right? But I don't know, it was just interesting for me to think about, and something I was considering.
I think, yeah, like the equality stuff, and like the, obviously the, like just the social commentary that goes along with that, right? Where it's talking about, I guess, like equality in terms of our real life, right? And, like I think the capitalist, metaphors are like very obvious.
Yeah.
Like, oh, at any point you can choose to end this and give all the money that you get from other people dying back to their families, but then you get nothing, right? Like, it's all very much obvious. And we did talk about this when we talked about on the stream, where, like, while I do think that is a large part of the series, right? And I'm not going to discredit that. I think that that's not all the series is saying, because I think the series is saying just as much, if not more, about, like, human nature.
Right, or I guess the way I was looking more into is I was sort of looking at both in tandem, right? Because for me, a big part of what I was picking up on the conflict is like Gi-hun has this morality, and all the characters have these moralities, but they have to reconcile with that within the systems that they're forced to deal with, which, in the Squid Game on the micro scale, but on the macro scale, it is just, society is kind of like a Squid Game, which is like, I mean, it's a silly way to phrase it, but that is just kind of how these death game stories work by nature, right? Or even just like isekai, like there's a, it's just generally something that these, like a lot of stories I see in Japan, or from Japan rather, have like, are exploring in some way, But yeah, we'll talk about that with the ending in particular, because like I guess after that there was the
then was just or I guess then there was the dinner into the Squid Game, and also like the brother reveal, which you already mentioned the brother reveal, but I do want to say about that. I think that immediately, like when I first saw that, right? Because I mean, when you're watching a show like this, right? Like Gi-hyun's gonna win.
Right. Like there's exactly. So it's not right, but that's also why like I'm it's cool to see all the other stuff going on because like, and of course even like we know that he's going to win, but how he's going to win is because especially like in this case I would say like the question that you could ask is like, okay, is he's going to win, but is he going to keep his morals or not? Right. And
right. Well, what I was gonna mention was that like so we know he's gonna win, and we know that a previous winner's become the guy kind of running it all, and so that immediately made me think about like, okay, well, in what ways is this gonna like in what ways is Gi-hyun gonna be drawn more into these games and into potentially being a part of that? Because then I even had the thought of, well, how many of the people working here were previous winners or players or people maybe who left the game and then get the job right after the first one. And so I had me think about that, where it's like, okay, well, how is winning the game going to affect Gi-hyun, and could it turn him into eventually being someone who, does work here, I guess, if that makes sense.
Right. Well, yeah, no, I basically trying to think of like how he might become part of the Squid Game in the future, right? Based on
like him becoming a part of it because someone who previously won became a part of it,
right?
And they probably weren't always, and we know they weren't always the person they were because we find out not who his brother sees him as, right?
Right. Like this,
so we know that it changed
exactly.
him, and so then I was thinking like, well, will it change Gi-hyun, right? And I think that that's something that you could go into with a potential season 2. Is you have two people who win, and maybe Gi-hyun has to make a choice where he continues to go against it, or maybe he chooses to join it, and he learns something about, you know what I mean?
Right. But yeah, the build up was good, where they get to eat good food for a change, and and then it's like, okay, here's your knives, like they had the chance to kill each other or not, and of course Sai did die.
Yeah.
Which like, and I do like kind of how the last game works out, where Gi-hyun kind of like, they both like, okay, well, I couldn't win, so you handle my affairs, basically, like because he has so much money that he reasonably could, and then and yeah, the last game was good.
Yeah, well, I like that the girl gets hurt in the previous game when the glass explodes, so she's probably already dead, but then even still, Gi-hyun's trying to save her. Song-woo kills her, and then that kind of really sets up their conflict, where it's like, for the final game, it's really good.
Yeah, like it just, it's at a point I even like went, are they still even trying to play the game, or no? They're just trying to kill each other. And yeah, Song-woo kind of like, he kills himself for, because he knows Gi-hyun won't, and because he just kind of like, how should I phrase this? My brain just stopped working.
Happens sometimes.
Like, I guess he recognized that Gi-hyun wouldn't, like, concede on his morals if he had the opportunity, so he took away that opportunity, because otherwise the game would never be finished, I suppose.
Right.
Or, yeah. And yeah, no, it was really good, and yeah. So I guess we can finally talk about the ending, unless you have more thoughts on the final game.
No, I don't really have much to say
no.
about the actual Squid Game itself.
All right, because there's some bad takes floating around about the ending, where it's like,
well, so Anthony Fantano made a video about it that was really bad, right? Do you want to know who else said he didn't like the ending?
Well,
got
we said
actually fucking
maybe
clowned on?
maybe certain was it the certain person alluded to earlier who may or may not have been the subject of an EWB we've done on this channel, or was it someone else?
No.
Okay.
No. Okay, real article. Okay.
Is it fucking CBR?
I didn't like the ending though. LeBron James told Lakers teammate Anthony Davis. The hit Netflix series creator Hwang Dong, I'm not gonna butcher it, but was asked for his reaction to that by The Guardian. Have you seen Space Jam 2? He said. LeBron James is cooling and say what he wants. I respect that. I'm very thankful he watched the whole series, but I wouldn't change my ending. This man says, I didn't like the ending. And my man comes back and says, have you seen Space Jam 2? Fucking murdered. Absolutely demolished. Hysterical. Oh, I guess I should grab that.
That's
source.
Amazing. That is not an interaction I expected to hear about fucking...
Yeah. It's fucking funny.
Squid Game and Space Jam 3?
Yeah, no, it's fucking funny. I love it.
Now I'm imagining Looney Tunes characters playing Squid Game, and now...
Stop! That's sad. No, but yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people don't like the ending. Like, we already kind of alluded to it, but, like, if you actually pay attention to the conversation that he has with Ilnam after about, like, the man and, like, is someone going to help him? Like, that's everything there.
That's literally the whole show, because, like, well, how I saw it is, Gi-hun, he had to compromise his morality in order to win the Squid Game. And so, like, the reason he doesn't do anything is because, like, he doesn't believe there's goodness in himself. So in the last game is basically a question of, like, is there goodness in humanity? Like, will people help others, if they have the opportunity to? Because, he thought he was like that, but then he killed Ilnam, basically. He killed, or he functionally had to kill his friend, Song-woo. And so, but then at the end, the lady who, she almost was paying attention to the drunk guy. Then she walked past him, but then she came back with the cops at the very last second. And he did win the game. There was good in humanity, and which he kind of took as, like, okay, so there's good in himself, too. Like, even if he had to compromise it, like, there's still a good person in there. And that's only at that point. And I guess another way I was reading into was the trust angle. Because both Sai and... I can't... these fucking character names, I can't... I've said it like a half a dozen times and I still need to like check, is that the right name? Song-woo. Like they trusted him to like, handle their affairs and the people that they're leaving behind and make sure they're looked after. So, but for a year he didn't do shit. He didn't see his own daughter. He didn't see the little brother. He didn't like, he avoided, he wasn't worthy. He didn't see himself as being worthy of their trust, right? For the similar reason. But then once he saw that goodness in him again, he did become worthy of that trust. And he put the mother and the little brother together, gave them money to cover the debt. And then I presume he went to go to America to see his daughter at the very end.
That's how I saw it, was like, he gave Song-woo's half to them because he still feels like, he didn't, he wanted to end the game, right? And Song-woo deserved half that money because Song-woo killed himself, right? He didn't make him do it. And then what I love is, though, you almost get like the same thing that happened with the old man and the woman, where he sees people being dragged into the next Squid Game, right?
Yes.
And so even though he wants to go to America and move on with his life, he can't do that, right? Like the way I saw it is he has to help the people that need it, right? He can't pass the homeless guy freezing on the street and leave him there. He has to go help them, and that's why he turns around and goes to stop it.
Right, because, there is goodness in people, there is goodness in him, therefore, like, he can't let these kind of terrible things continue to happen if he is, if he has any chance of doing anything about it. So, yeah, for the woman, she was a good person, she did the good thing, she called the police, she got him help, right? And so, like, for Gi-hun, he interrupted the guy, he kept someone out of the Squid Game, and saved his life, right? For statistically, most likely, like, yeah, that guy maybe would have walked away with a fortune, but statistically, he was gonna fucking die. And and yeah, so now then it ended, and like I said, it's like Liar Game's ending, but good, because where Liar Game is like, oh, audience, you better avoid this from happening. The characters aren't gonna fucking do anything. They're just gonna be sad that their video is taken down and that the evil is real or whatever, and they don't do anything about it after that. Where Agun's like, no, I'm gonna fucking stop the Squid Game, and it's like, yes, let's fucking go. But what'd you think about his hairstyle change?
Funny. I love it.
It caught me off guard. I was like, what are you doing? I mean, I get it. Like, he's showing his change. I guess you could also, like, blood, red, right, symbolism. But it mostly looks a little like, yeah, it looks weird, I guess.
Yeah, I always just saw it in some way. Well, I'm not going to say that, actually. I don't know enough to say that, so I take that back. But yeah, I thought it was, clear that he was changing and maybe trying to change into someone maybe more fashionable, right? It's also why he's wearing, he's dressed nice. Like, he's trying to, at that point, almost be someone that he isn't. Or that he wasn't, I guess, before.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. And I guess to go further, when I say, like, his hair was, red, I was just thinking of, like, he's sort of bearing the blood of the Squid Game, right? Like, because every, billion of the one was, like, a literal person, right? Or I forget the exact number, but it was right, so he had all that blood, basically, but he was still, like, he wasn't letting it burden him like it had been for the previous year. Like, when he fucking goes to he gets called into the bank, and he's just asked the dude, can I borrow 10,000 won? And the guy just, like, stares at him, and I'm like, okay. Like, that was a little, like, damn, I was sad because it's, like, he's so far gone, but also, thinking back to it, it's funny. Because he had so much money, and he's still asking for, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I thought the ending was really good. I don't.
Yeah, I think it's like the perfect ending for the character, right? Like, he can't go to his daughter at this point, right? Like, there's, like, almost like you could even look at it as, like, even if he wants to be with his daughter, right? It even goes to, like, almost, his mom was telling him, right? And part of it is also that because he was doing the Squid Game, he wasn't able to save his mom, right? And so that burden weighs on him heavily as well, which we didn't touch on.
Oh yeah, right, yeah.
There is, like, this level of, like, I don't even know how to say it. Like, his daughter doesn't need him, right? She has, a mom, she has a stepdad, people who care about her, isn't, gonna run into poverty yet. Like, these people in the Squid Game have nobody. That's, like, established. They really don't have anyone who can help them. That's why they're in the situation they are. He can help them, and he's going to go try to, however he can, right?
Right.
Which is good.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I think the ending makes sense. And I, like... I don't even, like, to the point that I don't even get how people can have problems with it. Aside from that, it's not, happy or conclusive, right? It's not an uplifting ending like, oh, look, he made it out of Squid Game. He's using the blood money to support his daughter. Yay! Like, I don't know. But yeah, really good show.
I agree.
So yeah, I guess that about covers it for the backlog. Yeah. I feel like I've said everything I have to say about the show.
All right, thank you guys for listening, and we will see y'all next time.
Goodbye.
Je suis perdu.